Whether it's due to tripping, arrogance, or sheer bad luck, let's take a look at some of the craziest examples of people who celebrated too early. Starting off with a swimmer who got too big for his trunks. My God, not like that. I'm talking about Owen Lloyd, a swimmer from North Carolina State University who led the charge against his other competitors by a mile in the 2024 Men's Freestyle Championship. I mean, look at this guy. Did he take a nap halfway through or something? After being crowned the champ, Owen falls into his teammate Ross Dance Lane, probably out of exhaustion from carrying that race on his back, and the crowd goes wild. But wait, what's that?
What? Whoa, wait a minute. Hold on. They're just saying that Owen Lloyd was disqualified. What is happening?
As it turns out, changing lanes during a race is cause for disqualification, even though Owen and Ross had finished their races. Let's replay this heinous crime which led to his disqualification.
And this is the point we're talking about with this technicality.
But that's what you do when you win. I'm sorry.
Seriously, that's it? The judge who made that ruling is the biggest Karen. Now, despite the outcry, Owen's disqualification actually remained, and his teammate, Ross, who came in second, was given the win instead. Still, he wasn't happy about it.
I think that's the dumbest rule in swimming. Owen beat me fair and square. He is going to be on that #1 trophy. I am not going to stand up there.
All jokes aside, kudos to Ross, because this is the definition of good sportsmanship. At least one person was using their brain. But the story does actually have a happy ending. A year later, in 2025, Owen Lloyd stepped back up to the plate and not only won the championship for real, but he even beat his time from the year before. And that Karen judge was nowhere in sight. Probably too busy writing angry reviews about her salad at Applebee's. Besides, at least Owen had actually won the race before he started celebrating. Here, at the 2021 Sagunto Triathlon in Spain, we see an example of an ancient cultural dance called the Moron. Thankfully, the dude's a good athlete because he's clearly not got anything going on upstairs. What she said. Having to sort through endless emails every day may feel like sifting poop, but no job feels more like sifting poop, well, than actually sifting poop, especially if you drop your phone in it.
Oh no, it's wet.
Astonishingly, despite the shower, the phone still switches on, so surely after rescuing it from literal crap, he's going to be extra careful and put it back in his pocket, and he dropped it again. Bro's running a loyalty program with the toilet. Humility fears this next kid. Even the ref can't keep it together at the showboating. Anyone else kind of rooting for him to lose, or am I just an evil curmudgeon who likes seeing kids suffer? Of course, daring karma this blatantly means you're gonna get served some humble pie. And there are few people I'd like to force-feed humble pie to more than Logan Paul. So, today's my lucky day. After he and fellow YouTuber KSI drew in their 2018 boxing match, they went toe-to-toe again in 2019 to determine once and for all who the biggest douchebag of YouTube was. And though Logan thought it was going to him, it didn't exactly turn out like that.
From the United Kingdom, the Nightmare, KSI!
I hope he thinks about this every night. Still, even pro fighters aren't exempt from embarrassment.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine.
Despite his confidence, this Chinese boxer, Lu Bin, didn't get the win here at the Rio Olympics in 2016. But hey, if there was a gold medal for humiliation, he'd be a shoo-in. For those who don't know, an Iron Man is more than just Tony Stark's alter ego. It's also an extreme race completed by total sociopaths who want to swim 2.4 miles, cycle 112 miles, and then run a whole 12.2-mile marathon. Seeing the finish line must feel like heaven. Except for this one dude in 2018 who saw the pearly gates a little too soon and youch. Forget iron. This dude's bones are made out of aluminum foil. It's safe to say he won't be running any more Ironmans or walking anytime soon.
I am shattered to pieces!
But hey, at least the tinfoil man was nowhere near the front of the race, unlike Jeremy Jerkovic, who was coming first place in a Brazilian half Ironman in 2013 and slowed down at the finish line to bask in his own glory. Pack it in, Jeremy Jerk. You couldn't even complete a full Ironman. You're a steel man at best, and nearly steel runner-up, too. At least Jerkovic showed some good sportsmanship at the end, clearly thinking, if I hug this guy after blocking his path, then I won't look like a total jerk, right? To see a real Ironman, we need to head to this pop-up demonstration for a TV with indestructible glass, where two salesmen encouraged Mr. Muscle to take a pop at their screen. Now, little did these schmucks know this was no ordinary guy, but an amateur boxer with over 10 years' experience punching things as hard as he can. Yeah, he's down for the count. The boxer proved the screen wasn't indestructible, and just like the TV, the salesman's hopes for any sort of commission bonus were shattered with one swift punch. Note to self, when playing tennis, always keep your eye on the ball, or you'll end up like this bozo. Even the ball girl can't believe it. Meanwhile, the American player, Francis Tiafoe, looks like a Tiafool, as he uses the toddler logic of, if I can't see the crowd, they can't see me. This kind of blunder isn't exclusive to normal tennis, and even table tennis players get ahead of themselves sometimes. The smaller the tennis, the bigger the humiliation. Although I'm surprised his opponent managed to actually see the ball, considering he clearly got dressed with his eyes closed that morning. Let's head to the world of soccer.
Stop saying soccer.
Sorry, football, and take a look at a truly crazy goal. At the 2017 semifinals of the Thailand Cup, a tied game went to a penalty shootout, and the Bangkok Sports Club demonstrated why you shouldn't let your goalkeeper take the final shot. But then, the Sarti Angthong Club demonstrated why you also shouldn't let your goalkeeper celebrate too early because, well, talk about the comeback of the year, literally. This next volleyball play comes pretty darn close to dethroning the goal as the most insane point of all time, and it also embarrassed the heck out of the team's opponents. That went pretty fast, so let's slow it down and really revel in their humiliation. See, the rival team from Moscow believed that they'd scored the point because one of the Zurich players had seemingly spiked the ball out of bounds. Moscow started to celebrate, but in a perfectly legal move, this Zurich player kept the ball active by kicking it back in. And as their opponents formed a celebratory group hug, Zurich scored for real. I'm not sure what's more satisfying, the goal itself or the humiliation of their opponents. There's no better feeling in sports than swishing a three-pointer, and the perfect basketball shot is definitely a cause for celebration. The most infuriating part of this one isn't even the missed shot. What the hell is that dance, man? Who does he think he is? Of course, he might just be emulating his idol, NBA player Kemba Walker.
The rebounder, Richardson. Still an opportunity with a minute to play.
Walker certainly lives up to his name with that fancy walk. It's just a shame that the ball bounced out of the hoop as he strutted his stuff across the court. Still, he isn't the only NBA player guilty of showboating.
Look how much enthusiasm the Lakers are playing with.
More from Swaggy.
I never knew why Nick Young's nickname was Swaggy P, but this finally explains it. The P clearly stands for premature. Embarrassing yourself in front of a crowd of sports fans isn't ideal, but that's nothing compared to falling flat on your face in front of your closest friends. This Australian teenager was leading the pack by miles, and it looked like nobody was going to catch him. Until he waved to his mates in celebration. This threw off his balance, and although it's kind of his friend's fault that he lost first place, they weren't very sympathetic. Spencer's fall teaches us that you should never celebrate until you've crossed the finish line. Just make sure the line you've crossed is actually the finish line. This runner showed off some swagger as he slowed down and won the race, but the actual finish line was still a few steps away. Third place is still a podium finish, but I bet he's gonna be thinking about that mistake for the rest of his life. But hey, even pro athletes make similar mistakes. And over in California, an American cyclist has just woken up in a cold sweat at the memory of his own self-congratulatory screw-up. At the annual Tour of Utah cycling race in 2018, Griffin Matthew Easter had the finish line in his sights, so he locked in and powered past his competitors, rolling into victory. Yeah, pump those fists. You've earned it with the win. Number 1 for first place, right? Sorry, Griffin. That sign means there's 1 lap left. Having used up the last of his energy to power past the competition, this airhead athlete had 1 last lap to cycle until the race was over. He was immediately overtaken by the other cyclists who'd conserved their energy and went from champ to chump, finishing the race for real in 78th place. Let's head away from the sporting world. Now, this may look like the world's saddest Halloween parade, but in truth, it's actually more tragic. This event is a funeral for the Apple iPhone, taken back in 2010, held by Windows after they launched the Windows Phone. They assumed their newest phone would blow the competition out of the water, so their team decided to taunt Apple, whose sales were obviously going to be hugely impacted by this launch. Never mind. iPhones are still the world's best-selling smartphones, and Windows ended support for the Windows Phone 7 just 3 years later in 2013. So this is the creme de la creme of celebrating too early. The Apple iPhone of celebrating too early, you could say. Hey, come on. Who let Kathy from HR participate? Does she even know the choreography? The Sprint is a cycling event that's all about speed. And in 2016, the British cyclist Matt Rotherham found out what happens when you, stop sprinting. Youch. While Matt was busy celebrating, his competitor overtook him by a literal inch, resulting in an embarrassing photo finish.
It was at this moment he knew. He up.
See, fellas, no matter what they ask, every millimeter counts. Any experienced baker will tell you that when you make flan, the flip at the end is the most nerve-wracking part of the whole process. If the flan's undercooked, it could spell disaster. So, successfully flipping it is definitely a cause for celebration. So close, yet so far. Safe to say, that didn't go according to flan. But it's not our only foodie fail, and one of the most embarrassing early celebrations in the kitchen came when one MasterChef contestant served the judges a dish called frog leg egg foo young. More like egg foo yuck.
Congratulations. On the worst dish in this competition so far.
Rookie error, man. Never expect Gordon Ramsay to pay you a compliment.
What are you?
An idiot sandwich.
We're all guilty of watching athletes fail on TV and thinking, I could do better than that. But in 2021, a reporter covering the college basketball tournament March Madness found out that shooting hoops is harder than it looks. After she visited a local street court,
Here we go.
Oh! Great job!
Well, I made it.
Hannah Hoffman's coworker clearly took the path of least resistance here by celebrating the missed shot. Either that or this phony high five was his way of getting back at her for stealing his lunch. In the wise words of Hannah Montana, everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. But I'll bet she never made a mistake as bad as this one by the Australian golfer Mike Clayton.
Not to do.
Far away. Oh.
Not only does he miss the shot, he then takes a 1-point penalty by hitting the ball twice with his club. Man, if that happened to me, I'd change my name and flee the country. But lying face down for a few hours works too. Sometimes the early celebration comes from the fans, not the competitors. This horse racing enthusiast from Ireland was elated when the horse he bet on in the Cheltenham Champion Hurdle took the lead in the final stretch. He started mentally counting his winnings when suddenly his horse, called Stateman, literally fell at the final hurdle, and as the fans' chances of winning disappeared, he sunk to his knees in solidarity. Hey, at least there's a bar right behind him to drown his sorrows. I'm not going to say anything mean about this next athlete because he's the size of a tank and could definitely beat me up.
I fear no man, but that thing, it scares me.
I don't want to lose a fight to a teenager, so I'll just roll the clip. Ooh. His hands threw up a peace sign, but his feet chose violence as they got tangled up and sent him crashing onto the track. Wait, I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. In soccer, nothing demonstrates skill and confidence like a no-look go, but nothing demonstrates stupidity like a no-look celebration. This Thai soccer player's shot was deflected by a defender, but his direct look at the camera shows that he thought he'd just scored the goal of the match, instead of its most embarrassing miss. While that video is memorialized on the internet for eternity, at least it wasn't aired on live TV. Beat the Freeze is an event held between the innings of Atlanta Braves baseball games where a fan races around the diamond against the team's very own superhero, a runner wearing blue spandex. Atlanta, you good? Despite giving them a sizable head start, this terrifying blue gimp almost always beats his opposition. So imagine how excited this fan was when he approached the finish line, still in the lead. The Freeze's victim hypes up the crowd as he approaches the finish, but all he achieved was an extra cheer as he ate it. Now, to be fair, if I looked over my shoulder and saw this face gaining on me, I think I'd fall over too. Speaking of live TV, let's move on to the world of game shows and check out a very clumsy contestant. At first, he sails through the obstacle course with ease, but as he reaches a rest area, he buys his own hype a little too much. The Chinese game show's title roughly translates to Brave and Smart Challenge, but considering the whole goal is to avoid falling into the water, this guy's totally unnecessary backflip proved that while he is pretty brave, he's also a moron. Now, let's move on to everyone's favorite pro sport, bridge climbing. This young competitor gets off to a shaky start as his skinny arms struggle to perform a basic pull-up, but he manages to make it up onto the bridge just in time for the dismount. And the crowd goes wild. It doesn't get much more embarrassing than falling at an imaginary sport. And I didn't have to see that table to know some alcohol was involved in that guy's decision-making. In contrast, this next athlete can't blame her mistake on drinking. Look, we all love doing the YMCA, but you definitely should have waited until you crossed the finish line. In all honesty, I can't even walk upstairs without having to catch my breath. But at the 2006 Chicago Marathon, one runner called Robert Cherio held out long enough to reach the finish line in first place before his legs suddenly gave up on him. Maybe if Rob didn't fling his arms wide before finishing, he would have kept his balance. But either way, the guy in second couldn't have cared less, running straight past Rob's body in a bid to steal his victory. Fortunately, Robert actually did cross the finish line as he fell, so he still earned the first place title, along with a few stitches in his head as a memento. Pool is a game that was almost invented for premature celebrations, all thanks to that pesky white cue ball. If you don't know, potting the white with your final shot automatically loses you the game. So, these guys had their victory stolen from them at the last possible moment. But a runaway cue ball doesn't discriminate between amateurs and professionals. Just ask Mark Allen. Poor old Mark potted the white with his last shot of the Snooker World Championship in 2012, so the stakes couldn't have been higher. But don't feel too bad for him, because he later accused his opponent, Cao Yupeng, of cheating with no evidence, and received a 3-month ban and a $1,300 fine for his behavior. Also, did he really have to violate the table by mounting it like that? For an athlete, there's no pain worse than the agony of losing. Well, apart from losing and getting blasted in the face with a soccer ball. The classic aim for the nose shot. Despite his lost brain cells, the goalkeeper started celebrating after saving the ball with his face, but all that pain was worthless as the ball slowly rolled its way back into the net. Sometimes pro athletes don't even need to be playing to get caught unawares. The Dallas Cowboys' CeeDee Lamb was watching from the sidelines when he started preemptively celebrating a play carried out by his teammates. Only that celebration brought him far too near into the path of an incoming referee.
Up as we look at CeeDee Lamb on the sideline, Kyle.
Yeah, guys, this happened right in front of me. CeeDee Lamb.
It's safe to say that CeeDee didn't see D ref coming, and he was given a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct, even though he wasn't playing in the game. Now, that's pretty embarrassing, but hey, I wouldn't expect anything less from the Cowboys. Not all athletes are sore losers. Just check out the collegiate runner, Tenche Pepio, who graciously encourages the spectators to cheer just in time for the real winner to cross the finish line.
Getting the crowd, he wants the crowd to cheer his performance.
You can, and you see his face?
Now that's some good sportsmanship. This is the face of someone who is clearly very happy for their fellow runners' victory. A similar incident occurred at the 2024 European Athletics Championships, when Team Spain got outwalked by Team Ukraine at the last second. This embarrassing fail not only cost Spain the bronze, but also launched race walker Laura Garcia Quero to national meme status in Spain. But on the bright side, there's not much glory in winning a walking race anyway. Being the fastest walker is like being the tallest hobbit. If you're gonna be a geek, you gotta be a successful geek. Just ask this guy. Imagine solving an entire Rubik's Cube in a matter of seconds, blindfolded, and getting only one square wrong. Yeah, I'd be so embarrassed, except I can't solve a Rubik's Cube with my eyes open. For this runner, striking a pose for the gram was more important than getting second place, as he slowed down to smolder the camera at the end of the 2024 Reserva Half Marathon. He put the run into runway, but unfortunately this was a race, not a fashion show, so he was left with a bronze medal instead. But hey, sports is a dog-eat-dog world. On the racetrack, everyone is your enemy, even your own mother. Oof, that must have hurt on 3 separate fronts. The faceplant, the betrayal, and the loss on the final stretch. Oh, the power of friendship. You know what they say, the real prize is the friends we make along the way. Psych, that duo both lost out on winning the race after deciding to link arms over the finish line. But hey, at least they both have a shoulder to cry on after their defeat. Soccer players are known for their celebrations, from the painful to the downright cringy. But if you want to copy France's Paul Pogba and dab after scoring a goal, you better make sure it's actually gone in. Man, the soccer pitch did this player dirty, literally. But thankfully, his teammates still scored the goal, and the crowd's reaction to the mishap stopped the player from dabbing, so it wasn't a total failure, unlike this play from a goalkeeper who got way too big for his cleats after celebrating a missed penalty. Yeah, sorry, bud, but you definitely deserved that. With 2 seconds on the clock, this middle school basketball game in Japan went down to the wire when a kid sunk a free throw to give his team a 1-point lead. The team in white thought it was all over, but then... holy shot! That kid just became the king of his middle school. But tragically, I don't think he'll ever beat this high, and we just watched someone peak at 8 years old. In contrast, this next hooper hit rock bottom as an adult.
Just like that.
On second thought, don't dunk just like that ever again. This next athlete hit a shot that was nothing but net, but unfortunately, he wasn't playing basketball. In disc golf, the idea is to hit the chains so your frisbee falls into the hole. But at the semifinals of the World Team Championships in 2024, Thomas Gilbert fist-bumped too early as this missed shot lost Canada the entire contest. I can't imagine how many times the Canadian apologized after that blunder. Staying in the Great White North, let's look at a fail from the NFL's less famous brother, the CFL. Chris Williams of the Hamilton Tiger Cats was set to make a legendary 117-yard touchdown. But like Icarus, he flew too close to the sun, or celebrated too close to the end zone.
117 yards and a back pedal.
He rolled over the line, but his knee hit the ground 1 yard before the end zone, costing his team the touchdown. Considering the longest kickoff return in CFL history is 120 yards, and the NFL's record is 109 yards, Chris's decision to celebrate literally cost him a place in football's history books. But what hurts more, losing out on a sporting record or $5 million? Well, back in 2019, a Spanish reporter called Natalia Escudero was reporting live on Spain's $4.7 million Christmas lottery draw when she found out that she'd won. Champagne flowed, tears were shed, and Natalia shouted that she wasn't coming into work next day, implying that she was quitting her job. However, a few hours after the initial broadcast, Natalia learned that she'd misheard the draw and she'd actually only won $5,500. Quitting your job over $5,000 isn't a good idea, and I'd pay $5 million to see the email she sent to her boss begging for her job back. Rugby shares some similarities with football, but the equivalent of a touchdown is called a try, and it involves touching the ball to the ground after crossing the try line. With that said, in 2007, this player tried and failed to score with one embarrassing mistake.
Made the tackle inside, it comes anyway. Oh, look, what have you done there?
To his credit, that is an impressive dive, but as he celebrated by leaping over the try line, he literally dropped the ball for his team. Hey, at least he knows he has a promising future in diving if rugby doesn't work out. As we've seen, the outcome of a game can often change in the very last second. And in this tag rugby match in 2017, the final buzzer sounds, and the girl holding the ball throws it into the air in celebration. Big mistake.
Play on! She's thrown the ball in the air! Cardiff has got the ball! Oh, where? What is going on here? Oh, no! What a way to finish the game!
Holy dooly, I cannot believe that.
See, in rugby league, even after the final buzzer sounds, the game only ends when the next tackle is made or the ball goes out of bounds. So, by throwing it in the air, this dummy player actually kept the ball in play, allowing the opposition to swoop in and score a try that won them the whole game. And while we're talking about rugger blunders, English player Freddie Burns definitely felt that burn in a 2018 match against Toulouse. To lose was also coincidentally what young Fred was about to do.
Through this time, oh, there it is, Freddie Burns, a kiss and a score! Oh, he's dropped
He was so focused on winning hearts that he forgot to, win the match by placing the ball on the ground over the try line. And I mean that literally, because this goal goof actually cost his team the entire game. At the 2015 Superbike World Championship in Brazil, showboating became show biking when this guy decided to start his victory lap a little early with a wheelie. After all, victory lap means the part of the race where you hand the victory on a silver platter to the competitor directly behind you, right? In the biker's defense, he has a lot in common with this inline skater.
The sure of his victory, raises his hands, thanks God, thanks his family, thanks the crowds, thanks everybody, thinks that I've won, and then boom. That was the career.
After a 12-mile race, this speed skater failed at the final few feet. But it's not the first time a trick has cost a racer first place. In 2013, motocross rider Megan Rutledge was set to take the title at the X Games when she decided to showboat over the final hill.
Angeles. Poked her fist. Oh, she thought she was...
Yeah, that's gotta hurt. I don't mean the crash. Megan had lapped most of the other racers, so these bikes overtaking her didn't knock her from first place, but then the rider in second soared past her, leaving Megan to motocross the finish line with a silver medal. She went from first place to faceplant, and this marks the last time she'll ever get that overconfident again. And now for a contestant on The Price is Right who was told to spin that wheel. Come on, Emily, it wasn't even that close. Did she even look at the wheel before she started celebrating? Still, she wouldn't be the first or last game show contestant to get too big for their britches. Just check out this guy who featured on an episode of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Firstly, this guy talks about how watching the show as a kid made him feel accepted as a smart person.
Maybe it's not so bad being smart. Maybe it's not bad being a nerd. Maybe it's cool to be smart. And I followed that all the way, and I just graduated from medical school. That's awesome. Congratulations.
Now, if you're going to talk like that, you have to back it up with some impressive answers. But then, our doctor-to-be actually gets asked his first
Snapping
question.
selfies in kitchens you can't afford and taking a meatball break are two things BuzzFeed says every 20-something does on their first trip where? To Paris, to London, to Rome, to IKEA.
Now, this question is kind of confusing, but if you think about it, the only thing that connects 20-somethings, kitchens, and meatballs is, of course, IKEA. But unfortunately, the contestant didn't think about it.
I'll tell you what, I think they do serve meatballs in IKEA. And I don't think that's the right answer, though. So, kitchens you can't afford, meatballs, sounds like it's got to be Rome to me. In fact, if I win $1 million, I would love to take a trip to Italy. I'm going to say Rome, final answer.
Brittany, it was IKEA. It was IKEA. Oh no!
With that, our self-possessed smart person tripped at the very first hurdle, walking away with a fat check of $0. And now, of all those places, IKEA is the only place he can afford to visit. Miss Universe is an international beauty pageant held once a year where women from different countries battle it out to be considered the fairest of them all. In 2015, the final round was down to Miss Colombia and Miss Philippines. And for some reason, Steve Harvey was the host, because nothing screams beauty pageant like this face. After hours of fierce competition, Steve announced Miss Colombia was the winner. The crowd cheered, Miss Colombia was crowned, and she milked all the applause, only it turns out Steve had read the card wrong.
I have to apologize. This is exactly what's on the card. I will take responsibility for this. It was my mistake. It was on the card. Horrible mistake. But the right thing, I can show it to you right here. The first runner-up is Colombia. It is my mistake. Still a great night.
In actuality, Miss Colombia was the runner-up, meaning that this resulted in probably the most awkward moment in TV history, as Colombia had the crown removed from her head so it could be given to the real winner instead. I'm sure everyone went home after this and cried, including poor old Steve. My mom always said that playing video games gets you nowhere, but she was wrong because it earned this next unfortunate gamer a spot in this video. The Evolution Championship Series is an annual fighting game event, which is probably the only place where nerds are treated like venerated rock stars. In 2015, two players were going head-to-head when one of them made a fatal mistake after scoring a point, leaving his chair.
Genius! So smart, he couldn't burst because of the super. But will she get
While he was distracted, celebrating his point, his opponent took the opportunity to win the game and, well...
Oh my god! Washida thought it was over and stood up, and Ogawa gave him no remorse.
That is exactly what happens. Don't I celebrate you with pop-off?
Back in 2003, a Formula 3000 driver called Bjorn Verdheim was moments away from winning the Monaco Grand Prix. But he knew he couldn't have won without his crew, so before he crossed the line, he slowed his car alongside the pit lane to thank them.
Slows by his pit. He slowed too early. There's the checkered flag.
Was Bjorn yesterday? As he's overtaken, he does a little panicked wiggle in an attempt to increase his speed, but he ultimately finished second, proving why he never made it to Formula One. Believe it or not, it's possible to win and still feel like a loser, and you can celebrate too early after winning a trophy. Graham Mertz from the University of Wisconsin's football team dougied too close to the sun after beating Duke and winning the coveted Mayo Bowl trophy. The glass smashed all over the locker room floor, but hey, at least this means everyone can take a piece of it home. Here, this Canadian pole vaulter encourages spectators to clap along, all for her to, all that display of confidence earned her was a round of applause as she went hurtling into the crash mat, but she raises the bar for good sportsmanship as she waves to the crowd after the failed attempt. If only someone lowered the actual bar for her. If you celebrate prematurely and lose, you can expect to walk away with a bruised ego. But Sam Rosenholz's mistake at the 2017 Beverly Grand Prix was ultimately much more painful. Oof. I don't know what's worse. Public shame, losing the Grand Prix's $1,000 prize, or the road rash. Definitely the road rash. Another biking blunder came at the finish of the Iraqi Cycling Championships in 2025, where a cyclist's overconfidence ruined it for everyone. I guess he figured.
If I'm going down, I'm taking everybody with me.
The craziest part of all, one of the rules of the race was that riders had to keep their hands on the handlebars at all times. So even if he hadn't fallen off his bike, this twerp would have been out of the race anyway. I hope that second of gloating was worth it. Let me know in the comments below which one of these celebrations was the cringiest. And for more crazy sporting moments, check out my series on the weirdest things that athletes do.